Hey folks, I want to talk about a game. This is a game called Overwatch. And there's a little bit of drama in it this week that I think is worth talking about because it activates a bit of my perspective. Undoubtedly, this is something, by the way, that's going to end up on Sargon McCod's This Week in Stupid. So I'm going to try to give you a little bit different perspective preemptively. I wanted to talk about this yesterday, but, I was coming in out of the city, seeing these guys. I'm off. And I will do another video on that concert. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about this right here. This is apparently quite a misogynist symbol. So this is from Blizzard's game, which is in beta, called Overwatch. It's basically like a Team Fortress 2 style shooting game with some League of Legends elements, especially with the monetization element. They're selling skins and that sort of stuff. So here's a Tracer skin, a skin from this same character. So different colors. That's cool, I guess. So yeah, this is what the controversy is about. And the controversy was created by a single player complaining about this pose, saying it's sexual, and that Blizzard should not do it. And so Blizzard capitulated and removed it from this one complaint. And that's interesting and worth talking about for a couple of reasons. First of all, let me go ahead and give some credit to Kotaku. They're the ones who basically pointed this out to me. And I will go to her actual wording to take a look at what's going on here. This is her actual complaint. And I do want to give a little bit of a breakdown of this and then my perspective with a rebuttal, of course. So first of all, I want, before we even look at it, let's just take a look at this. What is the only sexual thing that I see in this? Well, most people are going to say the butt, right? She has a butt. Hey, women have butts. Men have butts. People have buttocks, right? So if you do any pose of any character from behind, you are necessarily going to see their buttocks. Right? There's no way to shoot someone from behind where you don't see their buttocks except if they're wearing a cape. If she's wearing a cape, then she's Batman, there's no buttocks, right? But she's not wearing a cape. That's not part of her outfit, so I guess you see her buttocks. So there's no way to have a pose from behind without seeing somebody's butt. That's a given. But, is this super sexual? I don't know. She's not sticking her butt up or anything, It's not like a breast shot or something. So I don't know. I don't think it's that sexual. That's my opinion. That's totally opinion. But let's take a look at the complaint. I'll break it down and talk about some of the sophistry that's going on here because that's part of my perspective, and then I'll give my perspective as an artist. So she says, I think the development team has done a pretty great job with the cast of female heroes in Overwatch. Heroes. I don't know who those heroes belong to, but whatever. They're diverse, interesting, and compelling. So diversity is important, apparently, when you are making characters, right? Now, I don't think she means diverse in terms of political opinion, right? I think she means some other kind of diversity that she hasn't described. The female class reflects a large spectrum of personalities and player fantasies. Okay, so that's pretty good. Let's talk about Tracer. From a marketing standpoint, she's the star of the show. She is featured on all the promotional materials. This game is still in beta, so there's a lot of changes that they are continuing to make. When we look at the way she's portrayed in promotional media, lore, and art in-game, we know a few things about her. She's fast, silly, she's kind, she's a good friend, and her body seems to be comprised of about 95% spunk. And I will leave all the double entendres, Freudian slips, and other euphemistic delights to your imagination with that. Let's move on. She's got cool skins. She's got fun poses. She's got amazing victory animations. All this art reinforces the great character you've built around Tracer. This is actually important. The character you've built around Tracer. I'm going to talk about that. Then out of nowhere comes this pose. Oh my gosh. Pose of somebody from the back. What? What about this pose has anything to do with the character you're building in Tracer? Well, she's got guns. She's wearing her normal clothes. So, I don't know. She's got some part of it. It has nothing to do with being a fast elite killer. Yeah, the guns might have something to do with being a killer. It just reduces Tracer to another bland female sex symbol. There's a lot going on here. I don't think that's particularly bland. So I disagree with that characterization of her. We aren't looking at a Widowmaker pose here. This isn't a character who is in part defined by flaunting her sexuality. So this person admits that it's okay for women to flaunt their sexuality if they aren't this woman. Right? If they're not this character, then they can have sexuality. But at any moment, we're willing to reduce them to sex symbols to help boost our investment game. The investment game thing is what I will talk about in just a moment, once I finish kind of breaking down the statement. Getting art into a AAA game isn't a small task. No, it's not. It has to go through an implementer, a team lead, an art director, and a creative director. She's kind of telling Blizzard how they do things, which is a little interesting. It's a team effort, and I believe the team is responsible for upholding the great example Overwatch can set to the rest of the industry for creating strong female characters. Okay, so that is another thing I'll talk about. A whole team is responsible for this. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I have a young daughter. We don't know how young means, but I have a young daughter that every day when I wake up wants to watch the Recall trailer again. She knows who Tracer is, and as she grows up, she can grow alongside these characters. This is a game, Overwatch is a game where you are killing people. That's the game. The game is killing people. Like you're capturing objectives, but you capture objectives by killing people. So if you have a young daughter, I question the appropriateness of this particular game for a young daughter. The graphics look cartoonish, but it is quite violent. So at a certain point, your daughter will be mature enough to be able to play this game. And at that time, is the assumption she will be offended by sexuality in characters? I don't know what this person's assumption is. Or that her daughter will not be able to handle the sexuality of characters once she's mature enough to handle the violence in the characters, or that this person is going to grow up seeing the sexuality of this character in this intensely violent environment, and that sexuality is what's going to affect her. Now, this is interesting because whenever you talk about the youth, Socrates was put on trial for corrupting the youth. And this is a fallacy I should talk about, and I'll probably give it its own video, which is like the think about the children fallacy. Which is to create like a potential victim class that can't speak for itself because it's a child. Like you've created a victim class that literally cannot speak for itself because it's a child. Children can't really speak for themselves, not the way we can. So she's invented a victim in her young daughter. And then basically says this pose undermines so much of the good you've already done. Basically saying, Blizzard's doing a good job being social justice warriors by putting strong female characters in the game. Now, let me go ahead and give you sort of my rebuttal to this. So first of all, I already rebutted this game's probably not appropriate for this invented victim, right? The invented victim of her daughter, because we already know that you as an adult can't really be a victim of like mind warping sexuality because you're a fully moral adult. So you have to create a victim, the children. It's like, pornography victimizes the children. It's like, who's letting them watch it? Their parents. So it's your responsibility to decide as a parent what that child does or doesn't see and what they're exposed to, what games they play, the whole bit. So this is a terrible invention of a victim. Here's the other thing. If we go back up to the top. I think the development team has done a pretty great job with the cast of female heroes in Overwatch. They're diverse, interesting, and compelling. So the development team is the one who's created these female characters. She reaffirms this. Getting art into a AAA game is not a small task. No, it's not. It has a team effort. These are artists. These are creators who've created this character. Then she goes to say, in the middle here, what about this pose has anything to do with the character you're building in Tracer? Guess what? The creators of the character are the ones who get to decide what the character is and is not. Right? If they decide that the character has a bit of sexuality with this pose, then they get to decide that because they invented her. Right? The character, or the character is owned by the creator. The creator created the character. They're the one who gets to decide all that sort of stuff. You know, if somebody like sent me a letter and it's like, you know, I was reading Muramasa, and there was the scene where like, Yoshio runs in and instead of killing this guy, he just like shames him in front of everyone. And I don't think that was part of his character. I'm like, I invented that character, so I'm the one who gets to decide if he's going to kill somebody or not kill them and just shame them, right? I get to decide what the character's actions are because I invented the character. I'm the creator. She's saying that these are the people who created the character. She doesn't get to decide what goes into the character. Nobody here gets to decide. I'm assuming Phipps is a female. That is an assumption, and I admit I'm assuming that because, there you go. But, we create the young daughter as a victim, so maybe that's where this might be a dude. So, yeah, you're the consumer. You don't get to decide what the character does. The entire decision, and this is the big part of what I'm going to say, the entire decision of what you do as a consumer regarding the creator's choices in characters, in art, in story, and anything else they do, is whether or not you're willing to exchange your money for it. If you don't like this pose, don't buy the game. It's not that hard. If you don't like this pose, if this pose breaks the bank for you, this one female character in a host of female characters that are all sexualized has like one slightly sexual pose, and that's it. I can't buy this game. Well, don't buy it. I am going to assert here this complainer, if Blizzard had said, we'll keep it under advisement and done nothing, this complainer would still have bought the game. And I played World of Warcraft for a long time. And in World of Warcraft, there was a lot of people complaining. And almost none of them ever unsubbed from the game. Right? I've been unsubbed for quite some time because the game has basically sucked. But these people don't unsub from the game, but Blizzard will still make these changes to sort of capitulate to complainers. It's something they've done for a long time. And then really that's why World of Warcraft sucks now, is that you make all of these improvements to the game that are kind of demanded by people who complain about the core aspects of the game. And then eventually the core aspects of what made the game good are no longer there. I've done other videos about why World of Warcraft basically sucks now. But here you go. You have them capitulating again. Now, I will say this is Blizzard's game. They can take in, they can listen to complaints or not listen to complaints as much as they want. Right? But it does set a precedent that I don't think is good for them to set, and I don't think it's one that the fans of the game want to see set, which is that if you have a social justice warrior complaining over social justice reasons, then the company will automatically capitulate on that you're not going to have any kind of sexual content in a very adult-oriented game. That's the fear. I don't think that fear is totally founded, but that's the precedent that's set from there. But I'm going to go back to the consumerist part. I don't think anyone is going to not buy this game because of the lack of the pose. And I don't think anyone is going to buy this game because they took the pose out. Like, I don't think this affects their bottom line at all. So the question is, why did they do it? And I think they did it just because of, like, reasons outside of their market. That they don't want to have negative headlines surrounding their game. That they're afraid that will somehow impact the bottom line. Even though nobody who's directly affected by this would choose to not buy the game as a result, and nobody who liked that pose would choose to not buy the game as a result. I think it's just like this PR thing, and I think that sets a really bad precedent. That if you're going to make all your decisions based on PR of people who aren't your customers, you're gonna end up making a game that's not really going to appeal to anyone particularly. And it reminds me of this old thing I watched with Dennis Miller talking about like this letter writing campaign on Fox News against, I think, Bill O'Reilly. I don't really like Bill O'Reilly. In fact, I don't like him, but he has a very popular show, and there was this big letter writing campaign about it probably had to be like 8 years ago now. It's like, you got to get Bill O'Reilly off of Fox News because he's a generally bad dude. And what Dennis Miller said about that is, these aren't people who watch Fox News. Like, boycotting Fox News doesn't mean anything because they already don't watch it. It'd be like a bunch of people saying we're going to boycott cigarettes who don't smoke, right? It doesn't work that way. So no one's boycotting. No one's going to boycott Overwatch who isn't already not going to play. So like it's such a bizarre and frankly stupid capitulation. And the big one, so the big one's the consumer side, but also like the creators of a character are the ones who get to decide what that character is or is not, right? The consumer doesn't decide it. Like no individual person in the audience determines the will of the entire audience. The will of the entire audience is only determined by whether or not they buy or don't buy something. And otherwise, it's pretty much up to the creator to make whatever product they want. But anyway, that's all I really had to say about that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you want to see, what you want to hear, and I will see you soon. Thanks so much.